Have you ever gone to somebody's website and then been continuously bombarded with exactly the same ad over and over again? Well, if you have, you understand it can be very frustrating and it's not a particularly great way to advertise. However, retargeting is one of the most powerful tools that exist when it comes to meta advertising. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up evergreen retargeting, which continuously shows users different styles of ads depending on what stage they are within your funnel. The most important part of it is it's evergreen, which means if you set this up correctly, the way I'm going to show you, you will never need to touch these ads ever again, because they will continuously cycle through different users and they'll be showing them the right types of ads for the stage that they're at within your funnel. But before we go any further, let's understand what we are trying to do here. So I'm going to categorize all your potential customers into one of four buckets, or one of three buckets really. We have cold, we have medium, and we have hot. Okay, and cold goes up here, and cold is essentially new customers, right? These people haven't heard of you before, and these people are just getting to know that your company or your brand or whatever it is you advertise. These are people that you attract through Google ads. These are people that you attract through social media campaigns. These are people who you attract through meta ads. And the whole point of this cold audience is people have never seen you before, right? That is what they are. We've then got warm, which is kind of another stage down. And some of these might be warmer than others, and some of them might be colder than others, and that's okay. But we've got essentially what we call warm audiences. So when it comes to meta, we're talking about people who are potentially, maybe they visited your website once, maybe they have watched some of your video ads, maybe they have clicked on one of your ads. They haven't really gone any further than that, but they've shown at least some explicit interest in your brand. Okay, and we then have our hot audiences, and these are the people that usually have gone to our website, right, and they've triggered the pixel. And we can even go as far as potentially people who have opted in and they're maybe on our email list, or even people who have maybe spent more than 2 minutes or more than 3 minutes on our website, right? These are the warmest people that we have. And so when we talk about retargeting audiences, we're essentially trying to target people at different stages of the funnel that they are at. So let's have a quick look at how we structure this when it comes to our ad campaigns. So I've kind of mapped it out here, and I tend to structure all my ad campaigns into kind of three different categories, right? My first category is what I would call like engagement campaigns. And so that usually is, you guys have seen my carpet bomb video strategy. You'll know what that is. That is building up audiences that we're going to retarget. And those audiences can be people who have watched 75 to 95% of our videos. Okay. My second category is my traditional cold lead generation campaigns. And that is usually conversion driven campaigns. And that is usually targeting cold audiences. And then my third category is my retargeting audiences. And they're broken down into several different categories. So let's quickly go through what those categories are. Okay. So the top of this, and it's important to mention that each one of these here is an ad set. Okay. And this is my campaign. So I tend to keep all of my retargeting audiences within one campaign. And each one of these will be a different audience, right? A different custom audience that I've built. So what we're going to do is we're first going to go through the structure, then we're going to jump into ad account. I'm going to show you how to set these up in your audience settings. Okay. First one is video views audiences. As I mentioned before, this is targeting people who have watched, 75 to 95% of any video ads that I'm running. So they might be from my carpet bomb campaigns. They might be from my lead gen campaigns, but I'm generally targeting people that have watched 75% or more of my video ads. My second audience, which I would say is ever so slightly more engaged than that audience, is my engaged social media audiences. So these are people that have engaged with your post or your ads on either your Facebook page or your Instagram account. And I tend to combine those into one audience, tend to target them over like a 14-day period. Okay. And the next audience is our traffic audience, 0 to 3 days. These people that have visited your website or funnel or lead form in the past 3 days. So they're super warm, right? They're super warm audience. Next one is what we call like day parting. So this is basically where we say, okay, these people have been to our funnel the last 3 days. We then have people that have been to our funnel, should actually say 3 there. So between 3 and 7 days. And then we have people that have been to our funnel between 7 and 30 days, right? So the way that works is somebody comes in, clicks on our ad, and then leaves our website. We then trigger this 0 to 3 day audience. If they then click on another ad, they go back into this 0 to 3 day audience, and it keeps on cycling, right? But if they don't click on another ad, it then moves to this 3 to 7 day audience, right? Because they haven't engaged, they haven't been re-entered back into that audience segment. So what that means is we can show them different styles of ads. So if we're testing, 5 or 6 styles of ads on this audience and it hasn't worked, then we'll try 5 or 6 different styles. And then when they move through this audience and they go to here, they haven't engaged in over a week. We need to try something different. So that's when I change it up and show them something even more different and even more unique. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through and show you how I set this up in the audience settings of Facebook. Then we're going to look through an example ad account and show exactly how I did it for myself and show some of the creatives that I'm using. And it's much easier for you to go and set this up in the audience settings before you then go into the ads manager. Better to just get organized and structured so you know what you're doing when it comes to setting this up. So if we jump into my screen here, I'm navigating to Facebook audience settings. Make this so you can see it. Okay. So I'm within my business. So within my ads manager, I've now navigated to my audience settings. You can see here we've got all audiences, and we've got here this bottom which says create audience. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our video views audience. So we're going to click here and click on custom audience. I'm going to go to video, right? I'm going to select here 75% of my video, and I'm going to select the videos that I want to use. And one recommendation for you would be to actually, if you're running video ads top of funnel, allow them to run a little bit before you set up this audience. So you can then come in here and you can see where they are. So you can see which ones have had the most amount of views, and then you can correspond that those are the ones that you need to select for your or video view audience. So obviously you can do it via ad IDs. There's lots of different ways to do this. This is just how I like to do it. So we're going to select all of our top of funnel video ads that we are running. Again, it's better off to be, you can go and select as many as you want. It's not going to do your campaign any harm. So we've selected our video views and click confirm. You can then name this video views 75%. And you can click create audience. We're then going to select our second custom audience, which is a similar category, which is going to be engaged Facebook and Instagram page audiences. Okay, so if I come into my custom audiences, click on Facebook page, I'm then going to go to my page that I want to select. I'm going to go to anyone who engaged with your page. And what this basically means is it literally includes anybody who has visited your page, taken action on a post or an ad, such as reactions, shares, comments, link clicks, or carousel swipes. So if they as much as click on your ad, they get brought into this audience. We're going to click that one. And I tend to just leave this to 14 days. Okay. If within 14 days they haven't clicked on, because remember, if they click on an ad, they're going to move into our next segment. If within 14 days they haven't clicked on an ad or any kind of campaign like that, then we're going to remove them. And what I would tend to often do is, you can even mention this, but you can add a reactivation audience. I do sometimes incorporate, not always, but I do sometimes incorporate this. So that is basically, I might call this, reactivation. And, this might kind of be more video-based ads or ads that are less direct. And I might have several ads, and this will be audiences such as, website traffic, might be 14 to 60 days. We might have engaged post or ad, 14 to 60 days. You kind of get the idea. So basically, this is when they've kind of expired out of all of these audiences, and then we're going to reactivate them. So if they do happen to come back, engage with our post, or come back into our funnel, they get put back through these audiences, right, in order and structure. So we're going to go ahead and click create audience, and again, name this one engage post ad 14 days. Click create audience, and you can just go through this process. We'll do one more time. Custom audience. We're going to click engaged Instagram account this time. I'm going to click engaged. Same thing again. You can see anyone who has engaged with this professional account. We're going to find our audience that find our Instagram account that we need to use. Again, we're going to do 14 days. I'm going to call this engaged Instagram 14 days, and then we're going to click create audience. Okay. And the last one you're going to do is your website traffic. So we come here, click custom audiences, click on website, and very important here, what you can't do is you can't say, for example, I want the retention to be 3 to 7. So what you would need to do is you would need to create your 0 to 3, your 0 to 7, and your 0 to 14. And then on the 0 to 7 one, you would just include the 0 to 3, and on the 0 to 14, you would include the 0 to 7. So that means it's going to actually exclude those audiences. So if I come here and I click on, let's say 0 to 3, so this would be 3 days. So I would call this audience website traffic 0 to 3 days. Click on create audience. I would then go and click create audience again to click custom audience, and I would click on website, and this one will be a 0 to 7 days. So I'll click 7. I'll call this website traffic 0 to 7 days. Click on create audience, and then I would go through that process, and I'll essentially be building out all of these different audiences that we've been creating. So we've got them at our disposal. Okay, so we've got our video views audience, we've got our engaged post or ad audience, and we've got our different retargeting segments. So when it comes to actually setting these up, if I navigate over to my ads manager, it's much easier than you might think. So I've set this up already in this particular campaign. And so if we go to lifetime here, we can see what's going on. So you can see here, I've named these clearly, and I've got my top of funnel lead generation campaign. I've got my video views campaign, which is here is generating through plays for me to retarget later. And I've got actually two campaigns. I've got a warm and a hot. So I've separated these out into two campaigns, but you can absolutely put these into one campaign. If we go over to hot, you can see that I've separated out into images and videos, but you can again keep these as one. It's kind of more preference for me. I just feel like if I put videos and images together, it tends to kind of consume a lot of the traffic, and I want to kind of test them out individually. You can see I've got website traffic 0 to 7 days, and I've got website traffic 0 to 7 days. One of them is images, one of them is videos, and then I've got a website 180 days here, which I'm just testing because this was a new client who had lots of previous data that we hadn't utilized. So I've just launched those two ones here. But what if, for example, I wanted to separate that and have my 0 to 3 and then my 3 to 7? How would I do that? Okay, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and click here, create. I'm just going to call this 0 to 3. Obviously, you can name these properly. So we're going to go 3 to 7 day traffic. Obviously, name these properly. But if we scroll down to our custom audiences within here, there's literally not a lot you need to do. And so one thing also to mention is that if you're going to be retargeting people that you've already targeted, if that makes sense, you don't need to put in location-based targeting, because those location-based targeting was already done on your cold ad campaigns, right? So when you're setting up your campaign targeting cold audiences, you set up your location-based interests on there. So all the clicks are going to come from people who are within your target area. So you don't necessarily need to do that again. Obviously, you can if you want to, but you absolutely do not need to. So you can see here we've got 0 to 7 day website traffic selected, and we want to keep that. But what we want to do is we click here and switch to original audiences. Here we should be able to select exclusions. Here we go. So we're going to click add exclusion, and this exclusion we're going to exclude our 0 to 3 day website traffic. And so what's happening here is we're targeting our 0 to 7 day website traffic, and we're excluding our 0 to 3 day website traffic. So that means this is effectively going to become a 3 to 7 day website audience, right? And so then we can then retarget those people accordingly. If that makes any sense at all. So what I tend to do when it comes to the actual ads that I'm using for those different elements, we go into my retargeting. retargeting. For the warmer ads, I tend to use, because they're not as converted yet, they're not as engaged, I tend to use more video ads. So I tend to use similar stuff that I might use for my cold audiences. These are kind of, this was actually an image ad. If we go to the videos, you can see these kind of video ads I'm running. These are kind of like voiceover style video ads, very similar to what I might run on cold, because generally speaking, you would have multiple ads running at any one time, right? So if you're testing your cold campaigns, you might have 5 or 10 ads running, and that user only engaged with one of those ads most likely, right? So that means you've got 9 other opportunities to re-engage that lead, but they didn't engage with that initial ad they saw, but it doesn't mean they're not going to engage with the other ads that you're going to show them. So I tend to, with this warmer audience, I tend to just retarget those people with the same ads that I'm using in my cold traffic, with the hope that they're going to engage with something else that I've shown them, okay? So you can see here, we've got different styles of ads. We've got voiceovers, we've got talking head ads like this one, which is a talking head video, and we've got carpet bomb style text-based video ads. And I like to use these, so for example, they're not engaging with the voiceover-based ones. I use ones like this, which don't have as much voice. They're just on screen, so it just tends to resonate a little bit differently with those people. And the key thing to do really is to, navigate different pain points and identify different pain points and identify different benefits to your product. And for each one of your ads, try to kind of lean into one of those pain points or lean into one of those different benefits that the product has to offer. And the further down your funnel that you go, further down here that we go, we tend to use more direct and more benefit driven stuff. So when somebody's up here, kind of they're problem aware, but they're maybe not solution aware, we're talking more about the pain points and problems, and with more advertising, in this instance, chiropractic treatment in general, right? We're sort of saying, hey, if you're having problems with your back pain or neck pain, have you considered X, Y, and Z, right? That's kind of what we're offering them. But the further they get down the funnel, they kind of already know what the product is. They kind of know what we do and what we are. And so at this point, we start to advertise more like, hey, this is why we're better than the competition. So you can have ads, images that maybe like, I don't know, compare your reviews or talk about client testimonials or kind of, identify real benefits to your product versus other products that are in the area, right? It tends to become a bit more direct, or we can even use different offers and discounts and stuff like that to try and drive those leads in, okay? And that's generally how we set that up, and that's how I've got that set up inside of here. So we go back to the ads manager here. The next audience that I've got here is my video views audience. And again, very, very similar to the engaged one. I'm using more video ads, right? More video ads to engage these leads. I've got one image ad, which I'm testing. So I will test a few image ads, but generally speaking, I'm using video ads primarily. But then when it gets to the hot audience, this is when I tend to use a little bit more imagery. So if we go down here, you can see that I'm testing actually mostly image ads here. So this one I've got, which is just a direct call to action ad. It says back pain, neck pain. If we can't help, your money back. So it's very direct, right? And then I've got these other ones, which are like actually just people. I used Google Gemini to come up with these image ads. It's just a guy holding up a sign. It says back pain, neck pain. If we can't help, your money back. So again, it's a lot more direct. What I would probably do, and I haven't done it yet for this particular client, but I'd probably just continually add more creatives. Like the more creatives you have in your retargeting audience, the less change you're going to have to make moving forward, because Facebook is just going to have a lot more ads to actually play around with and to kind of optimize for, right? It gets a lot more effective longer term if the more ads that you have. So, and you don't really need to do many changes. Once you've set this up effectively, you can just kind of let it run. And that works really well with the carpet bombing strategy, which I talked about previously. We're running these ads top of funnel, and we've got these different video ads running, and they're kind of targeting new audiences, and therefore they're kind of building up audiences for our retargeting that we can then run. So they're constantly kind of cycling out new audiences. And what you can always do is you can just vary these out. So once your frequency gets a little bit high, and that's something you really need to keep an eye on, is this frequency metric down here. Once the frequency on cold ads gets to like 2 or 3, that's when you might want to start cycling out new ones. And then when it comes to retargeting, kind of want that frequency to be, I would say at each stage of your retargeting funnel, you kind of want your frequency to be between 2 and 4, because obviously each ad set has got its own frequency level. So for example, if you've got, let's say 3 to 4 ad sets targeting, it's not the same, but similar audiences. If they're all at 10, that means each individual ad set is hitting everybody 10 times that by 4, that's 40 uniques. And it's just too much, right? We ideally want to be hitting our potential customers maybe once to 3 times a day over like a 7 to 14 day period, but we want it to be different styles of ads each time, which is why it's really important that you set day parting up effectively like we have done just here. And you can get as advanced as you want to with this. There really is no right or wrong way to do it, just as long as you're setting it up and structuring it as effectively as you can. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to hire our agency, I'll leave a link down below where you can book a call with our team. If you want to join my private community, which is the only private community I have, and you want to learn how to implement this stuff for yourself, every single call is taken with me. You can ask me questions all day long. So I'll leave a link down below to both of those two things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.